Norris is a failure. Even if he wins, he's a failure because he's not maximizing what he has. And I agree with what you're saying. But here's what I say: Norris last year had the fastest car, and he lost. I think Norris has a mental problem. He's stuck on Instagram, and he cares. I think he cares about what people think, and he gets nervous, and he makes mistakes when he's under nervous. But skill-wise, he's just as good as any driver. Maybe I'm wrong. So Piastri is on his way to being the number one driver at McLaren, and this is why I'm saying so. That McLaren car, Lando Norris asked for it, from what I hear. He asked for a car that was more fronty and more like Verstappen's car, difficult to drive, and now he's getting what he wants. The past 2 weeks, Norris has made several errors. He's still fast, but he's made several errors, and he's not adjusting to that car as well as Piastri. His new complaint this time is that they said his brake wasn't working. Cool. I think he's pushing that car too hard. He doesn't know how to drive that car. Let's give congratulations to Piastri. Beautiful weekend, drove perfectly. Managed to do well in the sprint race, sprint qualifying, and did well in the final. Miserable week as far as I'm concerned for Norris. He qualified in P6 for the sprint race, and then he qualified in, what was it? I think he came. What did he come for the qualifiers for yesterday?
He came second in the race.
Third. He qualified third.
Russell
third
was
in
second.
qualifying.
Russell was
for
second.
qualifying. He let Russell out qualifying, so it's showing he can't handle that car. Piastri has been given a $20 million contract or £200 million contract. It's clear to me that Piastri, in his third year, is already on his way to being the head driver. Did you see the way Zach Brown shook him afterwards? I think Zach Brown and the team like Piastri more than they like Norris. Norris has a big problem. He's a great driver, but the way he drives is more old school with fluid, long corners. But Piastri is more of a short corner, fronty driver like Verstappen. So I think what we're seeing now is that we're going to see a title fight between these two. If it hadn't been for Norris slipping out in the rain last week, he'd be leading the championship, right? Not Norris, Piastri slipping in China, in Australia, he'd be leading the championship. And many believe he would have beaten Norris last week too, because he was on Norris's tail. Norris had the excuse that, I was just driving conservatively to preserve my tires. Story, you were scared as hell. What are your thoughts, Afolabi?
Yeah, I quite agree with you. And I think, Piastri was flawless from the first turn. There was a maneuver I did in the first turn that just took him ahead of everybody. From the first turn right up to, I think he pitted in lap number 15. His driving was composed. It was calm. It was flawless. I've not seen Piastri drive this well. It was a brilliant performance.
He's a fast learner. This is his third season, and his learning curve is exceptional.
It was a brilliant performance, and it shows that he has really mastered that car. And once again, McLaren proved to everybody that they have a supercar, all round, well-balanced supercar.
As usual, I'm going to challenge you on that. They've lost their balance. Would you agree? They don't have the same type of balance they used to have. They still have pace.
Oh, yeah,
or maybe you'll disagree. Because you have to remember their car has a lot more grip in the front.
If you look at the way Norris drove, I kind of agree with you. But it looks as if Piastri seems to understand the car better than Norris, or maybe just Norris is just.
No, Piastri is adapting to it. So, but what I'm saying is that, so for example, the car is fronty and it's a little bit off balance, and because of that, and because it took the DRS, it's still fast because it has unbelievable grip, and it still has general all-around downforce, still has good downforce. It even still has good balance between the front and the back. But if you notice, they were 5 kilometers per second slower on the straights. And whenever they got to the straights, you saw that too, Kunle. Verstappen was almost passing them several times when they were in the straights. Did you notice that? But then when they get in the corners,
and Mercedes and Russell as well.
They've lost straight line speed. So what I'm saying is that they're still the best, but it's not like 2023 where Verstappen was beating people by 30 seconds. So I think that there's a weakness in their chain. It's a small weakness. I don't know if any team can exploit it. Maybe Russell can exploit it because he beat Norris in qualifying and he was coming third. But I think that once they take away that front ring and after week 9, you're going to see a lot of teams catch up to McLaren. The question is, will it be too little, too late? I think the only two people who have...
He temporarily overtook Norris in second. Until he lost that advantage again.
Here's the difference, actually, to be honest with you, and we don't know it. McLaren still has, like you said, the best overall pace, but I think it's because of their tire management, because of that contour they have in their brakes. I think that's what's saving them. If not for the tire management, I think Verstappen could beat them. so their
Yeah.
tires don't degrade
Yeah.
as much. But but
Yeah.
but for Norris's tires are degrading because he's pushing it too hard. What are your thoughts on that topic, Kunle, about McLaren and their supremacy
Uh,
right now? Yeah,
yeah, McLaren, I think, are definitely the faster car. I think they lost a little bit of the gap that they had from the
yeah,
first to the
yeah. That's what
second
I think.
race
Yeah,
because of the adjustment. But I think it's not enough. I hate to sound obtuse here, and I'm not saying it just to be obtuse, but I still think that Norris is going to have is going to have more success than Piastri. As bad as Norris was this afternoon, I mean, coming second, driving badly is not a bad thing. So I think that if Norris played more, but Norris didn't have the pace on Piastri. Piastri clearly had more
you have
pace
to
than
remember,
Norris.
like Norris came sixth in the sprint qualifier, and that's lost points. He had a miserable weekend in the
I
fast.
wouldn't say
Heavy
if you
lays the
come
crown.
second.
Yeah, no, in the sprint race he came sixth, and then in the
Yeah, I
final
mean,
race he came second. But he's
the main
underperforming.
points are in the race. So
Yeah,
I mean,
but
yes,
he's
he
still
lost some
underperforming.
points.
He's underperforming because he only leads Verstappen by like 3 or 4 points. What I'm saying is he's not maximizing. Okay, let me ask you this question: if Verstappen was driving Norris's car, where would Verstappen be in relation to the rest of the field now in points?
If Verstappen was driving Norris's car, he'd be ahead of Piastri. That's no doubt.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is that Norris is a failure. Even if he wins, he's a failure because he's not maximizing what he has. And I agree with what you're saying. But here's what I say: Norris last year had the fastest car, and he lost. I think Norris has a mental problem. He's stuck on Instagram, and he cares. I think he cares about what people think, and he gets nervous, and he makes mistakes when he's under nervous. But skill wise, he's just as good as any driver. Maybe I'm wrong. So